Hi, I'm Tim O'Connor, Leupold and Stevens Product Line Manager, here today to talk to you about mounting up a scope. For today's demonstration, we're going to use the standard mounting system and a 2.5 to 8 VX3 scope. For mounting a scope up, it's nice to have a nice clean work area, something like this with a bench if you have one. If you don't have a vise like this, a sandbags work, anything that'll hold the rifle in place. Some of the tools that we'll be utilizing today is a ring wrench to twist the front dovetail ring in, a Torx driver to get our screws in, a screwdriver for the windage screws on the rear of the base, a mirror. We'll go over that utilization of the mirror a little bit later. We'll use a magnetic bore sighter to bore sight the rifle, and we have a set of aluminum alignment bars. All these tools make it very convenient to mount up a scope, but everything you need to mount the scope up, including the instructions, are right here. You can do everything you need right out of the package. So the first thing that we'll want to do is make sure that we remove the plug screws, which I've already done, and clean the receiver holes. A little Q-tip with a little bit of gun oil on it works very well. Once we've got those cleaned out, we will want to lubricate the screws. A lot of people like to use thread locker to lock the threads down. Leupold doesn't recommend it. However, if you're going to use it, make sure that you use blue thread lock instead of the red, so it's not permanent. You can get these screws out if you need to. So next we're going to go ahead and put the mounts on. I use a little bit of gun oil in order to lubricate the threads. A little Q-tip works very well. What this does is it allows you to feel the proper torque on the screw and not friction between the threads of the screw. So you're going to get proper torque on it. A little bit on each one. And we'll use our Torx driver. I like to bottom the screws out but not torque them down. Once I get both of them seated, a little bit of pressure. I'm going to torque these down to about 18 to 22 inch-pounds, no more. One of the most common problems that people run into when mounting up either the bases or the rings is over torquing the screws. 18 to 22 inch-pounds on both sets, and not everybody's going to have a torque wrench. You can see how much pressure I put on that Torx driver. If you want a way of telling how much pressure that is, I tell people to go up in the bathroom and push down on your bathroom scale till you see 18 to 22 inch-pounds. That's 18 pounds of pressure. So using the ring wrench, the ring key that we offer with both the rings and the bases, you simply put that amount of pressure on the top of that wrench, and that's going to be 18 to 22 inch-pounds. These are probably above 20 right now, pretty tight. So mounting the front base, go through the same process. Again, I'm going to lubricate the threads with a little bit of gun oil. And using the Torx driver again, bottom them out and torque them down. There we go. Bases are installed. Okay. Once we have that done, we want to install the front ring. These are pre-lubricated from the factory. They got a little bit of grease on there for twisting them into their dovetail. Rotate that around and get it as close to 90 degrees as possible to the receiver. That's pretty close. The rear ring, again, has the smiley faces on it, which are going to be captured in between these windage screws. So making sure that this ring seats in there properly by wiggling it around a little bit as you tighten it. And you want to try to get the ring as close to the center of the base as possible. So if you need to, you can loosen one and tighten the other in order to push it right to left. Okay, once we've got that done, want a little bit of torque on there. These need to be torqued down to 45 inch-pounds. We'll do that once we have everything installed. Tight enough for now. Now we use the alignment bars to make sure that the front dovetail ring is rotated into the base properly. Looks like we are pretty darn close. Now, not everybody's going to have the Torx alignment or the alignment bars for the rings. If you don't, that's fine. What you can do is you take the scope and you simply set it into the rings, and it should turn relatively freely, meaning that it's sitting on the rings flat and not on an edge from it being twisted. So this is relatively straight enough for our purposes. And we're going to Mount the scope in there. Now I know, because I've mounted scopes on rifles so many times, that the eyepiece of the scope needs to be about at the back of the trigger guard for me. But if you don't know that for now, what you'll want to do is install the ring caps. I'm not going to tighten them down, just leave them loose for now. And this way we can check the eye relief on the rifle. We shoulder the rifle, and while looking through the rifle, I'll want to be on high magnification, I'll want to be as far away from the scope as possible. So in other words, I will start pulling away from the scope and I'll start getting a black ring in there. Once I'm as far away from this possible, then I know that when I turn the magnification down and that eye relief lengthens, I'll stay within the eye box. So high magnification, just at the outer edges as far away from the scope as possible. Okay, once we have that done, then we want to adjust the reticle to make sure that it is straight up and down. There's many ways of doing that. You can put a level on the receiver of the rifle and on top of the scope, make sure they're both aligned with each other. You can use a plumb bob. There's dozens of different devices out there to make sure that you get the reticle level. However, I just like to look down the back of the scope from the end of the stock, and I look through the middle of the scope and watch the vertical axis of the reticle and see that it goes straight down through the middle of the stock. I found this to be just as accurate as the other methods. And so that looks pretty good. A little tweak maybe. There we go. Once we got that done, then we can torque down the ring caps. You want to make sure that the gap between each side is as even as possible. There should be a 30 seconds gap between each side. A little pre-torque there. Okay, once we get that down, torque it down. Again, same as the base screws, 18 to 22 inch-pounds. And those look about good.